And we're back at the Sorrow Eternal headquarters. Myself, Murmaider, and Hell22.
Yeah.
And we also have with us, our guest is back, Chester.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Yeah, back from a rousing trip through Vegas, midget in tow.
Yeah, my own little personal hangover.
Murmaider, you did a review this week.
I did.
And you usually give the good ones, and I'm left to do the bad ones. But this week, you were not impressed by Pagan's Mind.
No, I wasn't. Pagan's Mind is a... well, they were listed as progressive metal, but I would put them more under power metal, or at least with this album. The thing that really caught my eye at first was the album artwork. Looked really cool. So when I first got into the album, it sounded good. There was some really cool solos and some catchy hooks in some of their songs, but then I started to notice that a lot of the songs just started repeating and sounding almost exactly the same. And I was expecting more. They're a band from Norway. The album wasn't bad, but it's just, after a while, it's just repetitive. I wouldn't suggest going out of your way to try to, if you have a chance, check it out, but I was definitely expecting a lot better than that.
Yeah, so if you got $10, don't drop it on that album. It's probably,
yeah, there's 100. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There was a lot of reverb. They used a lot of effects on the vocals.
Oh.
And I think the guy has great vocals, but I don't think you really needed that. I mean, unless maybe it is just the effects that made him sound that good.
That's usually a bad sign when
Yeah,
they got to
right.
bury the vocals under a ton of effects.
Yeah.
You don't see like the big band Stradivarius, Blind Guardian. You don't see them using a lot of vocal effects.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that sucks.
yeah. Now you did one on a new band, UneXpect, right?
Yeah, I don't know how to describe this band. I really have no idea. They're not power metal. They're not progressive. I don't know what to call them other than they're weird. It's just fucking weird. They're from Montreal.
Like good weird?
It's a good weird. Now let me just give you a breakdown of what's in the band here.
Okay.
You got a violin. You got 2 guitars. You have a singing dancer. Apparently she's a dancer, but she sings as well. Keyboards. And a 9-string bass. Now, I don't know what kind of music you would think would come out of that, but it just ranges everywhere from like jazz to funk to just straight up like hardcore metal. It is ridiculous, and there's like a lot of beautiful singing, and then the next moment there's just blood-curdling screams. It is outrageous. And they had an album a couple years ago called In a Flesh Aquarium, which was, it's kind of an interesting album title, and it really caught my ear then. But this album, Fables of the Sleepless Empire, you got to check this one out. And as I said in the review, you might want to do it sitting down, because you're probably going to hear some stuff you're just absolutely not ready for.
Really?
So definitely check them out. Freaking Canadians,
They have to be a great live performance.
I can only imagine. If they ever came around, I would absolutely be front row to see that.
They only have 2 albums? Is it?
They have 2 full-length albums and then an EP from before that.
Oh, okay, so they're still...
Yeah, they're still relatively new, but I mean, it's been 5 years or 6 years since their last album, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
They've been around, but, just not a lot of material to go around. Definitely check that one out.
Do they have, like... Is it more like breakdowns or more solos involved?
I couldn't... I don't think it's more of anything. I think it's a little bit of everything. I don't know that I would really say there were... I don't know if I would say there are really any solos. I mean, the bass work is phenomenal, but I don't think you're going to see blazing guitar solos. It's a lot of chugging. It's a lot of like just crazy scales and stuff, but not in the solo sense, like the Dream Theater solo where it goes off on a tangent. But just so many things happening at once. And what really drew me to the album, and I mean, I listened to it probably 6 times in a row. It's just they change time signatures. Just when you think you see where the flow of the song is going, they throw in a big right turn, and all of a sudden now they're doing a jazz breakdown. And you remember that Spanish band you had discovered, Eomin Basoa, I think is about how you'd say it. And you were kind of saying that this one song, screaming, like heavy screaming, and all of a sudden it's like...
Yeah, it's like straight up jazz.
Yeah, this is like that, where you think you're getting into it, and they're just wailing away, they're screaming their head off, and all of a sudden it's like... boom. I think at one point I called it circus metal, because it's just outrageous, man. You gotta check it out, definitely.
Yeah. That's the first band I was thinking was the one that you just mentioned when you were talking about the jazz breakdowns. But yeah, it sounds cool.
That's definitely crazy. So now that Chester has returned from his 6-month-long date with a midget, we're finally going to get back to the discussion of Dimmu Borgir's latest album, Abrahadabra, and then, Dimmu Borgir in general, I think. So, Chester, it's been a while since, we gave you this homework, and I would say that if we were grading you, you would have failed for failing to turn this in. But,
probably.
What were your impressions now, weeks later, about Dimmu Borgir?
Actually, Dimmu has been in my CD player for a good 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. I listened to it, and at first I was a little eerie, but the first track I thought was a great opening track for any kind of album. Kind of like drew you in because you're kind of listening to it, and you're like, okay, all right, where's this gonna go? And then it's very dark, but not too dark to the point where like the growling or anything. There's no growling or anything like that, so you don't know what you're getting into.
Right.
Then you hit the first track, and the first track was good. I really liked Gateways.
Yeah, that is a standout.
Gateways to me was probably the best track on the album for me. Then they had the self-titled track, which I also liked. Ritualist, I liked how it opened and built up. I thought that was great, and it's not. I wouldn't say it was my favorite track on the album, but I definitely enjoyed it. So the whole album in general was really well done, And I went and I looked up, Dimmu, and I found out that was their 9th album.
Yeah, they've been around forever.
So I was like, what the hell else am I missing? So I'm looking forward to going back and listening to some more of Dimmu.
What do you think of their style of genre? How they mix black metal with symphonic orchestral instruments in their music.
Well, yeah, I liked all the orchestral build-ups, and then you have the classic growl in there, and then they mixed it with you had operatic singing in certain points. You'd hear the woman come in, and even she growled and did a couple of chants. The chanting I thought was really a nice touch to the album. There's a lot of chanting or dark talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really sets the tone for things.
Which I thought was nice, and I keep thinking it's abracadabra, but I know it's not. But that whole idea of it really does sound like they sat around a giant cauldron.
Yeah.
And they made this album. The CD just rose out of the cauldron and while they were growling at it.
Yeah.
And this is what produced it. And it was great, man. I really enjoyed it. It was almost like a cinematic feel to it. I really like the album.
Good.
I really like the album, which surprised me because I'm not really a huge fan of growling and all that, but it didn't hurt their album whatsoever.
Yeah, because it's so varied. I mean, growling is just one part of 1,000 things that are going on.
Yeah.
I think we've mentioned them in just about every podcast. It hasn't quite reached Mastodon proportions, but I think that what makes Dimmu so easy to listen to is there's just so much going on. And, the really dark, clean singing, when he gets really, really low, it's not growling, it's not screaming, but he's just delivering in that dark, almost monotone. I just think that just builds this evil imagery. And I think we've referred to it before as an evil symphony. And, I can't find anything wrong with that album. I really can't. I've probably listened to it 50 times, and I just don't know.
I love the lyrics.
Yeah, lyrically it's fantastic.
Yeah. That was really deep.
That one breakdown when he's kind of speaking the words and then the female voice kind of, adds to them.
That's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, and the whole time you got crazy double bass going and the chugging guitars, but it's such a great contrast.
That's what I like that they do a lot, is that they have these epic strings and then double bass in the back of it,
Yeah, I was impressed on the drumming. The drumming just so repetitive, throughout every track. It was just very heavy. For me, the drumming was heavier than say Blind Guardian or or even what else did I listen to? Nightwish and Awedi. Is that how you say it? Awedi, yeah. They didn't have that. The drums. The drums were just dominating every track, and it was just nice how it worked all together. It wasn't there was no instrument that was out of place.
Yeah,
in the vocals and everything, they all just kind of kind of connected, which was awesome to hear on an album.
Yeah, then you should definitely go back and check out some of the other stuff. That a lot of their their style is similar in everything, all their albums, if you go all the way back, with the double bass and the strings and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it just mixes so well. It's just amazing. And, we've talked about this before where, Dimmu is kind of carelessly lumped into just being a black metal band. And they're really, by the definition of black metal, everything we've talked about, the poor recording and the sound, and they're really not that anymore.
Right. Yeah.
They've kind of defined a genre all their own. And I think that's what makes, there's just so much, there's just so much going on. And you just can't pigeonhole them into one genre.
Well, remember, they were the guys that started out with their logo of Dimmu Borgir, the writing.
Yep.
As a black metal writing.
Yep, the crazy font.
Yeah, the font. And then
barely legible.
Yeah, then they changed it. And didn't you say that he even he didn't want to be considered?
Well, sure, because there's just if you tell someone you're a black metal band, everyone just like the interview we had with Skogan where we talked about the black metal stereotypes.
Yeah.
That you wear face paint, you worship Satan, it's low quality recording, and just everyone assumes these things of you. And I don't know if you looked into the band, but they wear these crazy elaborate costumes with the face paint, like suits of armor almost, like
horns,
spiked, horns and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's almost like Legion of Doom.
Yeah, it's crazy, and they're just all about the theatrics, which is again why I think this music suits them so well, because they're just all about the theatrical element, and I think they pull that off so well, both live and on their albums. Now we haven't seen them live, but
no, and actually they just had their live performance with the 40-piece orchestra.
Oh
right?
yeah, the pictures from that are phenomenal. If you guys get a chance, definitely pop over to their Facebook and look at some of the pictures. It was in Norway, I believe, correct? And I would have loved to have been there. That absolutely is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and they pulled it off. Everything I've read about it since then is just it was a goddamn fucking masterpiece.
Yeah.
And it's not like we talked about in the past with bands like Metallica who feel like, oh well, we've done everything we can do in this genre. Now we need to add an orchestra, or now we need to add all this other stuff. This is what they do. So they're staying true to their style. So yeah, I mean, Dimmu's, definitely a band you guys got to check out. Chester, I hope you go, backwards in their discography. You'll probably find some other stuff. If you work backwards, which is what we always say to do. In Sorte Diabli, before that.
Yep.
So, if you work back, that is an evil album. Evil album.
So now, we're not going to be doing any more homework for Chester, right?
Yep, correct.
Anytime soon. I think we're just going to have some new topics for you guys every week. So definitely, continue to check us out. Listen to what we got to say.
Hey, leave us comments. You never leave us comments.
If they want us to do more homework, or if they're interested in my opinion on an album, they're more than welcome to chime in and throw something out there. Maybe
if you got a topic you want us to talk about,
yes.
I mean, there's what's going on. What do you feel about metal?
Send us an email, even if you just a personal email or a message through Facebook or Twitter.
Yep, definitely. Follow us on Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. All the new reviews go up on those, and we're going to start throwing up a couple of our classics, that you guys might have missed when we were still in our formative stages. Yeah. Make sure you check out the store. Every album we review that's available is right in the store for you to buy in download form. Most of them, between $5 and $10, so well worth it.
Yep.
A couple other things we wanted to mention. Got to check out the interview with Skogan. We've mentioned it earlier tonight. Check out that interview. It was great. We can't thank them enough for taking the time to answer some questions. And I mean, as we said with the Arcan interview, check that one out too. The interviews are great. Yeah. Absolutely great.
And we'll definitely be having more for you guys soon.
Yep, we got a lot, feelers out there. And if you want to do an interview with us, if you have a band and you want to do an interview with us about, your album or whatever, make sure you contact Christine at sorroweternalblog@gmail.com.
Yep.
One last thing we need to mention. Once again, if you're listening to this podcast, we know the ways you could be doing it. You could be peeking in the window, as we mentioned last time. It's not as hot up here this time, so it's not that bad. But remember, you can check us out on Light and Darkness Radio on the Live 365 network.
Yep.
That's been working out great, and make sure you check out his station. I mean, we've both spent some time listening.
Yep.
His playlist is great. It's very rare that we find someone who likes the same
everything.
Yeah, and he's definitely a lot of the bands we review are his artist of the day, and so definitely check that out.
Yep.
Thank you guys as always. And you guys got anything you want to add in there?
Don't run away with a midget at a circus. That's all I'm saying.